Hey guys, welcome to The Grey Escape. Is this episode to be or not to be? That is the question. There's a clue, big clue. I'll tell you more right after this. William Shakespeare. You know, in this exact moment, I just remembered that I kind of do have a William Shakespeare story, because I was just about to say, no, I don't, other than I dated a guy who had a Shakespeare theatre company and he had a goatee. And then I just remembered when I first moved to Canada at age 13, everybody made fun of me. And every time I would answer a question in class, the whole entire class would say, William Shakespeare! So I had a bit of a phobia of answering questions, obviously, in class for a while. That's it. That's my Shakespeare story. Fear not, because today's guest is going to make up for that. Fantastic stage and screen actress hailing originally from Scotland, Morag Siller is here, joining us right now at the Barbican Theatre in London. We're in a makeup room here, and she's not here right now, but she's going to be in a moment. And she doesn't know. We've got a weird setup. Her and I are going to sit side by side looking into a makeup mirror, and we're going to have to look at each other through the makeup mirror. That's the only way this is going to work, because I had to put the mics kind of on the makeup table, right? I'm winging it. So she's in a London production of Shakespeare's Hamlet, and get this, amongst the stellar talent in the cast is Benedict Cumberbatch. Pretty cool. Get this, take two. This particular production has made history. It's broken records by becoming the fastest selling London theatre production in history. So there's a production going on all around us. So please, allowest me to introduce you to Fair Lady of the North, Morag Siller. That wasn't even very Shakespearean, really, except allowest is a little bit. That's it. I got one word, allowest. Here we go, Morag Siller. Right, so I guess I'm going to look at you in this mirror, which is totally weird, with my little glasses on. Do you wear glasses? Have you gotten to that point yet? Oh,
I have to read,
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so I guess if you can get yourself comfy that you're right on that mic, it'd be great. Great. And we'll adjust to looking at each other in the mirror.
I know, that's weird.
I know it is. You'll get used to it in 10 seconds.
Okay.
Is this where you guys get ready in here? And will there be...
actually, yes, before we start, let me turn the monitor off.
Okay. And is it likely that suddenly actors and actresses will burst in on us?
No, because this is empty. We use downstairs.
Oh, brilliant.
No. Nobody's going to come in here.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm back looking at you in the mirror. Okay. So we're in fancy dressing rooms of the Barbican Centre. Now, how long have you guys been doing your sort of rehearsals here? I know the show's on now, but how long have you been here?
We opened on the 25th of August. Previews started on the 5th of August. So we came here just at the beginning of August, but we've actually been rehearsing this show since the middle of June. So it feels like we've been doing it a long time, even though we've just opened and we've got another 6 weeks to go now.
And what is a rehearsal schedule like? How many hours a day? How many days a week are you doing?
That's really different on every job. Every director, chooses their own way of working. Lindsay Turner was very relaxed with us. We had a long rehearsal schedule, so it was quite relaxed at the beginning. Benedict Cumberbatch has just been amazing at learning lines and, sort of retaining that information quickly. I just sort of watch him with awe. So at the first, it was sort of, 10 till 6, Monday to Friday. Okay. And then the last few weeks, we were doing Saturdays as well.
And when you say about how great he is learning lines, I mean, you all start off, I'm assuming, you're fully on book when rehearsals start, or are you expected to be off book and know all your lines when rehearsals start?
Again, that's if the director asks you to be off book, then you are. But for something so enormous as this, it would be probably just not manageable because of work schedules to learn everything.
Okay.
I know Benedict this was his idea. He wanted to play Hamlet. So he's known for a year that he would be doing this.
Okay.
So I think he'd managed to get some under his belt, but most of us were completely off. We were off book, so we didn't. Sorry, wrong. On book, we didn't. We hadn't learned it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when he showed up, then I mean, it sounds like he had already a good grasp on things.
He had a good grasp of the understanding of it, but he had a lot of learning to do. I think it's something ridiculous, like 4,000 words he has to learn for this show.
Well, he has heavy dialogue in Sherlock, doesn't he? He has those crazy long speeches and monologues in Sherlock. So you'd think his brain would be pretty well trained to learning enormous patches of text.
Yes, but when you come to Shakespeare language, it's a different ball game. To learn specifically how to speak that way is I think harder. So, they say, Hamlet, I think, is one of the hardest parts to play.
And did you train to do Shakespeare yourself, or is it one of those things you can kind of get a grasp of it on the job as you go through your acting career and you do some Shakespeare, or are all of you guys expected to have trained?
No, what I liked about Lindsay Turner as a director is that she was very open in coming in and saying, I've never directed Shakespeare before.
Okay.
This is my first Shakespeare. We can learn together. Some people in the cast have done masses of Shakespeare, and have been with the Royal Shakespeare Company for years and have a lot of experience, and some of us have none. I've only done 2 other Shakespeare plays. So, it was a challenge, but I think we've all managed very well. And the good feedback we have is that people that have come to see it understand it. So it's very clear. The story is very clear.
Okay. So the director, Lindsay, did she say then, I haven't done this before?
Yeah.
Wow. And
Benedict asked Lindsay. Benedict had seen Lindsay's work.
Okay.
She's fantastic, but she'd always dealt with new writing before. So she was always directing new plays, but he just said, I want you to direct this for me. And
Wow.
So I knew that she would just do an excellent job and that they'd work well together. So she did. She came in and said, this is my first Shakespeare. So, and I just thought that was really kind and sort of generous, so that none of us felt intimidated.
Yeah. Have you seen any of her work before?
Yeah, I saw Posh, which was a fantastic play that she directed a few years ago at the Royal Court Theatre. Then it came into the West End and has just been made into a film, I believe, called The Riot Club.
Okay.
Which is all about students, I think at Oxford University. It's a great film.
And what do you think, now that you've worked with her, what do you think he saw in her that gave him so much confidence to entrust such a big production into someone who hadn't directed Shakespeare before?
Oh, it's very difficult. I can't speak for him, but I imagine it would be creativity. She's so creative. Her imagination, I just feel she sees so much more than the text and outside of the box, and isn't scared to try things that haven't been tried before. And she lets you try and fail, which is really important, and find our way. So I know you haven't seen it yet.
No.
But when you do, I mean, I don't want to say too much about it. The artistic, the set, for one, is just amazing. The costume, and so she overall sort of sees everything. It's not just the acting, and it just looks beautiful.
I don't even know if I'm going to get to see it because it's... Unless you can hook me up. I think it's crazy.
Hopefully we can, yeah.
I mean, I was just talking to the guy, the little Barbican helper at the front, and he said people are lining up overnight to get seats, and people start lining up hours before just in case somebody doesn't show up for a seat. I mean, it's pretty epic.
It is. I think... I mean, the whole show had been sold out before I was even cast in it. So I think it's the fastest selling show in London ever.
Wow.
I think. And that's down to Benedict and his popularity through, as you say, film and Sherlock and theatre that he's done before. But So we knew it was going to, it's a whole new thing for me because, you know, we come out of stage door at the end and there's 100 girls just screaming.
Well,
not to me, obviously.
You know what tickled me was right across the street, there appears to be a pop-up shop of a bridal boutique. I thought, oh, they're optimistic.
I saw that. That's new. That's new. Yeah. I think, rather optimistic. But you're absolutely right. We come out of the show at about 10:30, and there are people there, God bless them, from Korea. I've met girls from Korea, Russia, Australia, that are there all dressed up in their, you know, coats and hats and sleeping bags. They sleep there on the pavement. So they're first in the morning to get a ticket, I think, at 10:30.
Wow. Holy smokes.
That's you know, that's supportive, that's dedication.
And does the whole cast go out at 10:30 or just whoever feels like it on the night? Or do you all pour out the stage door to do autographs and stuff?
Oh, no, we just come out as we're, you know, some people get done quicker than others or changed quicker than others. So
it's not like a formal meet and greet
No,
kind of thing.
not at all, no.
Okay. And so I want to know, because it's such an exciting thing, and to be playing across from somebody who's such an enormous international star right now, I want to know how the process unfolded. I mean, he was already in it before you even auditioned, so you already knew this was to play in a play with Benedict Cumberbatch. Mm-hmm. And that must have been kind of exciting, right?
I've seen him on stage before when he was at the National Theatre. There are so many terms, you know, when people call somebody a film star, and they're a film star, a true film star, but cannot always then portray that onto stage.
Right.
I went to see him play Frankenstein when he was with Johnny Lee Miller, and he really is. He can do anything. It was superb. He's brilliant on stage. So yeah, maybe a little. I was excited for sure, a little intimidated, but he has just been so generous and kind with everyone. He's really funny as well, because that pressure, the whole thing, you know, is a pressure on him. He knew the world was watching.
Right.
And he's so brave. I respect him hugely. And it's, he's been, I don't think anybody could say a bad word about him. He's just so relaxed and just gets on with it.
That's great. So for you, you get a call from your agent. Is that how it works? You get a phone call, or do you get a little email going, hey, we've put you up for this role and they want to see you? How did that kind of unfold?
For me, it happened really late. Lindsay has adapted it. There are quite a lot of cuts and changes that she's put into it. And there's a character that's in the original Hamlet that is called Voltimand.
Okay.
It's a very small part, and it's played by a man. It's a man's character.
All right.
But Lindsay, being Lindsay, God love her, went, no, I'm going to make it a woman, and I'm going to take some lines from other characters and sort of create this person.
Wow.
So Voltimand is now probably second in command to Claudius the King. She's an ambassador and a really strong woman, because I think in the cast there's 5 women. You know, there's not a lot of women in Hamlet. So
how many's in the total cast?
I think
about.
Well, in the play, Gertrude and Ophelia obviously are the 2 main. And that's really it. So she's created Voltimand. So there's 3. And then we also have another 3 girls as well that play a queen and other parts, and also understudy. And but yeah, it's great for us. There's 6 women in the cast and about 20 men. So we have
nice.
It's very nice. We have a good time.
And so you came late in the game. I mean, did you still have to audition?
Oh, yes, of course. So I read it and went, oh, okay, this is different. This is new. I didn't know what this character was. And I just came down to London, met Lindsay, read with her, had a really good time. It was fun reading it and sort of discussing. I kept saying to her, I see her like Nicola Sturgeon. You know, she's this straight-talking but likable, strong, person. And then I think the next day I was told I'd got it, and they started rehearsing the next week. Wow. So it was very quick.
Wow. Do you know how many people would have been seen for that role? Do you ever find that info out?
No, I never liked to really. I mean, I'm sure she saw people that she'd worked with before, or, you know, I hadn't met her before, so it was nice to get an opportunity. I don't know. I never know really things like that.
And is your main home base in Manchester still?
Yes, I lived in London for a long time.
Okay.
I came down from Scotland to study and went to drama school here, and then lived here for about 16 years.
Wow.
And then fell in love with my old sweetheart from school, and he lives up north. So yes, I've lived in just outside Manchester now for 13 years now.
Now, is that kind of a strange place to live for an actor? Or is there a little industry that's happening up there where you can work and have a full-time career up there?
I think now there used to be this thing where it felt like if you didn't live in London, then you couldn't be in this profession. And it's just not the case at all. It's made absolutely no difference to me whatsoever. I do theatre in London every year. I come down. There is a lot going on in Scotland. There's a lot going on in Manchester because, as you know, the BBC's up there now. So Blue Peter's moved up there. All the CBBC stuff's moved up there. Radio. There's a lot, you know, so I'm sort of working all over the place. And Manchester's only 2 hours away on the train, so it's not, I don't feel it's affected me at all.
And so do you get an apartment then while you're in London doing this play? You don't commute? No. Is that difficult to just take an apartment for 2 or 3 months? I mean, does the theatre company help you out with accommodations, or are you on your own there?
It depends, really. It depends. I'm very lucky. I've got a friend of mine who's just moved to Kent, was looking to rent out her flat. So I'm renting her flat out while I'm here. You can stay with friends. I've got great friends here, or, I used to have an apartment, but I've sold that now. In a way, I wish I'd kept it. But yes, and the theatre will help you if it's a long contract. If you're doing a year in the West End, then they'll find you somewhere.
Now, you don't tell me what you get paid, but I hear from loads of people theatre pay is really crappy. Is it really? I see a knowing look. I mean, do you get bumps if you're a notable actor, or is everyone is it really democratic?
That is, there are 100 answers to that.
Okay.
Because if you're in regional theatre, there's an equity minimum, which sadly isn't very high. If you're doing a musical or a play in the West End, you can get paid pretty well. I cannot say I'm not being paid well for this job. I feel very lucky.
Oh, good.
Sonia Friedman are the producers, and they treat their actors really well.
Great.
So I've got no complaints on that front. But if I was doing, I don't know, I've worked at other London theatres that don't pay as well. They just can't.
Right.
And that's the sad thing, So you end up doing theatre because you love it.
Right. What is the weekly for equity, the normal, doing a little play somewhere? What is the weekly rate that you get?
Goodness, you're asking me now.
Like, it's this...
I think in between about 500 and 600.
Oh, well, that's not bad then.
No, it's not bad, but out of that you depend, sometimes you don't get subsistence, so you're paying your rent out of that money as well.
That's just like stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
that's
course.
Exactly like it.
Yeah.
You pay $600 to get to the gig that pays $600.
Yeah. So you do it for, that's what I
Right.
mean. No, you do it for the love of it.
Right. Well, going back, I've read such interesting things about you. I mean, for starters, you're a twin. I mean, how cool is that? What's that like, being a twin?
I think most twins will say to you, it's so, growing up, we so desperately wanted to be apart. I mean, we were close, but we hated sharing birthday parties. You desperately wanted to be an individual. And we were always called the twins. We were, I was dressed in red, he was dressed in blue. You're sort of, you compete and you're always being compared to each other. So it's great, but it also has its downsides as well. But since we've grown up and not the sort of cute little twins anymore, and we are different people, very, very different people. It's great. We've always said that things have happened to each other. We kind of do It's almost like a sixth sense sometimes.
I was going to say, they say there's that psychic connection.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any weird things where you'll feel a pain because he had an injury, any of that sort of stuff?
Well, I feel really ashamed because I haven't. But I mean, this will make you laugh. He said to me once, I was knocked down when I was 10 by a drunk driver on my bike. I was on my way to school.
Oh, dear.
And my brother said to me, I had a dream that was going to happen to you last night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, last night. He didn't bother to tell me. He didn't say, today, Morag, you're going to get knocked down by a... But, so he let that happen.
That's funny.
I went, that's a little bit too late, telling me now. But I haven't had things like that happen to me.
And you guys were adopted?
Yeah.
How old were you when you went to your new home?
I believe we were just over 2.
2 years old.
Yeah.
I guess you don't really have memories before that, do you? So you
I
don't know
really.
any different other than the parents that you have.
I don't. I have things in my mind that I think I've made up about before. I think it's my imagination. This teddy bear has always come into my head. But no, so as far, I don't remember anything before that.
And were you up north then? Is it Glasgow?
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh. You were born in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
You can tell me to shove it if this is an awful question, but what was the nature of the adoption?
Well, of course, we didn't know things like that till we were much older. We didn't know why. It was just sort of, we were always told that, our birth mum couldn't look after us. When I was 18, I got very curious, like I think a lot of people do. And I wanted to know whether I had other brothers and sisters. I wanted to know where I'd been born and if I had been born in Edinburgh. So I went and found all that out. I was delighted to find that I had a younger brother.
Oh, wow.
And 2 older sisters, half brothers and sisters. And it seemed that she couldn't cope, you know. I always, as a youngster, tried not to judge her, that she had 5 children, yet we were all put into care. We were all put into children's homes. And I think, sadly, my birth mum is no longer with us, but she was a very damaged lady, and I think all she ever wanted was love, and thought that by getting pregnant, that the man, whoever it was, I don't know who my father is. I believe he's Irish. That's all I was ever told, really. Oh, there you go. There you go. Live theatre. Live theatre. You can hear the call. I thought I turned that off. I do apologise. He'll stop talking in a minute. So, yes, I think she met men and was having children and thought that they could be a family unit, and then sadly the man would leave, and she couldn't cope on her own.
Did you meet her ever?
Once, yeah.
How did you even find her?
Because when I found my younger brother and my older sisters, they had already found her.
How did you even find them?
Through the Scottish Adoption Agency, which is where anybody would go to find your birth certificate, basically.
Okay. How was that, meeting her? Did you feel a lot of anger, or did it all kind of dissipate in the moment?
It was difficult. I'm not going to lie, we didn't have a wonderful relationship. I didn't want anything from her. I think she had so much guilt about what she had done that it sort of influenced the way she was with us, and she wasn't a happy woman. I felt very sorry for her. So, and I've always accepted that, and I never want, my adoptive parents really were like my real parents, and that I'm a real flag waver for adoption to show that it can work. And I had a fantastic, I think if I hadn't been adopted, Natalie, I can't imagine what sort of life I would have had, if I'm honest. I certainly wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, or have been supported or given the opportunities that I've been given.
You figure people who adopt children really want them.
Absolutely.
So that's got to be half of it right there, the fact you just really want these children.
Yeah.
And so how old were you when the adoptive parents told you that you were adopted?
Well, it's odd, and I know a lot of other children say this, or adults that have been adopted, but we just always knew. And I don't know how that is.
Wow.
I just always knew. But I remember distinctly being about 6, and Mum sat us down with a book. And I remember this book, and that this was obviously a way to tell children that, and
Trip to the library on this one.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, absolutely. Let's get the book out. And with that, and there was a picture of a child in the middle of a crowd of people. And then suddenly this big adult hand comes down and takes hold of the lost child's hand, and sort of takes them home. And that really stuck. It was all pictures.
It sounds quite terrifying, this book.
Well,
it's kind of like abduction, only
I was
legal.
Nowadays, we're talking about the early 70s. Nowadays, they probably still isn't around.
Stranger danger.
Yeah, no sweeties for you, child. So
Right.
I remember that. Yeah, that's how I remember. And I think my mum was probably very grateful for that book, because I don't know how else she would have. I think she might have found it quite difficult to explain it.
And is there, as someone who's adopted, do you ever feel like this huge obligation with your parents of like, man, you guys really hooked me up here. I can't be naughty. I got to be good all the time. Do you feel a pressure and
God, no.
guilt? No.
I was a nightmare teenager.
Okay.
No, do you know, that's really interesting you've asked that, because I didn't ever feel that. I always felt absolutely secure and had complete support and unconditional love, and that they were never going to chuck me out if I did something wrong. If anything, I think my adoptive parents felt an obligation that, bless them, they've come from, and we need to, help them and look after them. And I think my brother sometimes played on that.
Milked it a bit.
Yeah. Which was terrible, because my parents were such kind, generous people. They helped so many kids, not just us. They fostered as well and things. So, but no, I never felt that. I always felt completely loved.
And so you grew up also then with foster kids in the home?
Oh, we had kids coming in and out of our house. It was the Waltons on acid in our house. We had people coming for 6 months, then leaving, and then other people. I mean, it was good in a way, because we learned to share pretty quickly. We had, I think all in all, my parents fostered about 10 kids.
Did you find that in any way, though, emotionally difficult? Like, would you bond to people like a big sister or something like this, and then they're gone?
No. It's funny enough, I learned that my lesson, because it was explained very well to us that these children wouldn't be staying forever.
Okay.
And I think I understood that.
Okay.
So it was more like friends coming to stay. But there was one girl that came, she was younger than me, and I really attached to her. But and so I found that quite difficult when she left. But we're in touch now, and she went on and was adopted by another family, and happy ending, and we found each other again.
Yeah, that is a happy ending. When you said to your parents you wanted to be an actor, was that something that they supported pretty readily? And did you always know? No, you didn't. Now it's coming back to me. You wanted to be a policewoman, didn't you?
You remember.
You wanted to be a policewoman, but you didn't meet the height requirement by half an inch or something?
Oh,
sorry. I've opened a wound.
Yes, you have. I'm still hurt, and because I can't get over it. Yes, I wanted to be. Thank God. Listen, Britain is much better off. I wanted to be a policewoman desperately, and I don't know why. Maybe because I was bossy, but I liked the uniform, and I saw other friends. I liked other friends, older friends of mine had joined the police force. But yeah, in 1980, whatever it was, you had to be 5'4", and they can never say that nowadays. And I was 5'3", so yeah, and I wasn't allowed to.
Wow.
God, how the world has changed.
Yeah, that sounds like awfully discriminatory.
Yeah.
I mean, 5'3", you can, in America, it's like you can hold a gun at any height, but I guess over here, you have to be able to, I don't know, work
But
more
would
physically.
would there have been any sort of height restrictions?
Gosh.
There was in the army, wasn't there, in the American army?
I mean, I wouldn't. I would almost think perhaps in the army where they're going to stick people on the front lines, but I wouldn't. I don't know, so I don't want to answer incorrectly. Did you used to watch? Was it just called Policewoman or something with Angie Dickinson? Was she part of the inspiration? Do you remember that show?
Oh, I don't.
I remember being
was that
with the blonde, hot-looking policewoman.
Nope, don't remember that. I remember Juliet Bravo.
Okay.
Do you remember Juliet Bravo? No.
I'd probably gone from England at that time.
Yeah, that's probably the first woman policeman I remember.
Do you think it was from a TV show that made you want to become the policewoman?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. And funny enough, acting never entered my mind until I went to see a play that just sort of changed my world. And I remember, I mean, I don't know what it was like for you, but I bet there's a moment, everybody seems to have this moment where they went, oh my God, I'd love to do that. Can I do that? Can you do that? Can you get paid for doing that? How would I do that?
Right.
And that's when, I just went for it.
How old were you when that lightning bolt struck?
17.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I was really young. I swear I was about 2, and I used to watch on television and just have this feeling, this intangible feeling that I want to be on the other side of that glass.
Wow.
And I got such a sense of entertainment watching television. I wanted to be part of that process and that
You
magic.
wanted to be with them doing that.
To me, it was magic, and I wanted to be on the other side of the glass, in on the magic.
Entertaining people.
Yeah, entertaining people.
God, you see, I've heard that before. I think you are. You. It's a gene that you're born with. It always kind of makes me laugh slightly and jealously when people kind of go, "Oh, I just fell into it."
Oh,
I wasn't going to be. Somebody saw me in the street, and you go, "Oh my God, I've been working for 20 years." The bitter more it comes out. But no, I mean that's not fair because everybody should be given opportunities. But there are people that like yourself that knew. I didn't know all my life, but although I do remember going to see The Sound of Music was the first film I ever saw at the cinema. I must have been about 7. And that blew me away. And I remember Mum saying, because I thought it was real, so I thought we were watching something real, and she had to explain that it was a true story, but the kids were acting.
It wasn't a documentary.
No, it wasn't.
With the singing mom.
No, I was going, oh, this is amazing. Completely fell in love with Christopher Plummer. Is that his name? Yeah. Yeah, so there was I do remember thinking, oh, that looks like fun, doing that and pretending and singing and everything. But for a while, I thought it might have been my twin that went into it and not me.
Oh, really? And did he end up going into entertainment?
No, not at all. But I was devastated because I was the one that auditioned for the school show, and he did as well, just because he wanted time off classes, and he got in it, and I didn't. Ooh. I didn't speak to him for a long time.
Like The Craze, only kind of different.
Very different. Nobody died, but they could have done, Natalie.
And so, well, you've done musical theatre. You did Mamma Mia and Les Mis. So did you train in all the singing, or are you one of these people who, I just can sing?
No, none of that comes easy to me. But I went to drama school in London at a theatre school called Sylvia Young. It's still, God, I think it's been around for about 30 years.
See, I'm envious of that. I have real deep envy that you went to a drama school, because I pined my little heart out as a little girl wanting to go to drama school. But I was in Birmingham and my dad had been in entertainment and it hadn't gone well. So my family was against it, and it was a flat out, no, you can't do this. And I'd said from when I was tiny, I want to be an actress. And my mum said, you can't, because everybody wants to do that. You got to pick something else. You should be an airline stewardess.
Oh, I understand. I mean, of course, every parent. That's interesting that they had that experience and they were just doing it because they were terrified.
Yeah, they were caring about me and thinking, oh, this is going to be a hard road for her. Let's get her off it. And it has been a hard road.
But my mum and dad were exactly the same. My mum said, I don't care what you do, I will support you, but you learn how to type.
Right.
How old
okay.
do we sound now?
Do you
You've got
type?
to
Do you type more?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So that I could temp. And
Yes.
that I had something else that I could do. Did you train as an air steward?
No, I never did, because in my heart I secretly thought I'm not going to do that.
No.
And then I went through things I wanted to do, but it was because of the TV show. I would see on a TV show a doctor, and I'd be confused and think, oh, I want to be a doctor. But then I realized that it was that I wanted to play a doctor on
Right,
TV.
okay.
Specifically, I wanted to be a doctor in a sci-fi show. When I
You
learned
wanted to be that person that you were watching.
Yeah, when I learned you couldn't actually hop into the future and become a doctor, then it was like, okay, I need to act, because this isn't going to happen. I'm not going to be on a spaceship.
Bless you. You sounded like a very confused child. Were you an only child?
You know, I was an only child for a really long time, until I was 11.
Oh, wow.
And so I grew up considerably as
yeah.
an only child, you know.
You sound like so many of Benedict Cumberbatch is an only child, and he talks about, going off in his imagination, and had to sort of play. He created the whole world around him.
Yeah, well,
and
I used to do that. I used to go in the garden, and we didn't have a lot of money, and because my dad was a musician, so I remember a scarf that my mum had, this scarf, and I used to tie it in my hair and just spend hours dancing around the garden, and I'd create a whole story, and I'd be some princess or some damsel in distress, and I'd be narrating all the characters like a mad child in the garden, and then I'd build my own toys out. This sounds so Monty Python, but it's true. Do you remember the show Space 1999?
Yeah.
So I made
Odyssey 1999, isn't it?
No, Space 1999, Morag.
Oh, excuse me.
You're talking to an expert
Yeah, okay.
here.
No, sorry.
So I built Moonbase Alpha out of a cardboard box, and all of my characters were toilet rolls with little popsicle sticks, lollipop sticks going through as arms. But it was fantastic.
Well, I mean, that's creative, but I'd rather have had human friends, Natalie. No, but that's creative. No, I mean, my goodness. And did you know at that point that you wanted to act? Was it acting, or did you want to sing? Did you want to dance? Did you, what did you?
Well, I always was, it appealed to me, the whole kit and caboodle of the singing and everything, but the acting predominantly. But singing always appealed to me as well.
It was escapism, wasn't it, really? A lot of people, and completely... I could talk to you for ages about the fact that you've got such a funny bone, because I that's something that I wanted to do, actually probably more than the acting, but I wasn't brave enough.
Really?
I wasn't brave enough. I have wanted to... Some people want to run the marathon. That's their life's goal, or this, or... I've wanted to write a one-woman show and go to the Edinburgh Festival, considering I'm from there and, could get a venue quite easily, for 25 years, and I can't do it. And so I watch people like you, and my writing partner is Steve Coogan's sister-in-law.
Okay.
And I've watched him kind of over the years and just think, God, you're so brave. I need lines to be written for me, and I hide behind them. So what you do is just brilliant.
But you've written some sketch, haven't you?
Yes, I wrote a sketch show about 10 years ago. But again, we were playing characters. I'm talking about stand-up comedy. I mean, I know you do both, but walking out as myself and being fun. No, I couldn't. Look already, I've got clammy hands.
They say I'm such a big believer in the follow the fear. And if it is something you've always wanted, I mean, I'll come out with you to an open mic. I'll help you write some jokes. It's if it's in your heart, to me, it'd be a tragedy to not do it. And I can almost predict the very first time you would do it, your heart will feel like it's going to come out your chest. But as an actor, I'm sure you've already felt that feeling.
Yeah. So what I could run away right now feeling. Yeah.
So you already know how bad it could feel, and then imagine how great when people laugh.
Heckling, and I would just run away crying. I mean, I because that would feel like a personal attack where, if they boo you on stage, or you can go, well, I didn't write this, actually. It was Shakespeare, so you can't have a go at me. And it's sort of like that wall that protects you.
Yeah, a protective shield of someone else's writing.
Yeah.
It's just the writing they don't like, not me. It's that Shakespeare.
I'm playing somebody else. It's not really Morag.
Right, right. Well, you talk about saying the words of other people. How are you finding it with all the wordiness of Shakespeare?
I've become a bit of a nerd. I went to school, saw Shakespeare plays, didn't really understand them. And if I'm honest, wasn't really interested in them and didn't appreciate it at all until I did my first Shakespeare play, which was a comedy of errors. And then suddenly working on it and dissecting it and going through the rehearsal process, paraphrasing and understanding it, I suddenly just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
I love saying those words. I don't find them easy to learn. Last year I was at the Globe, and I know that I didn't see you then, I don't think. But so we were doing another oldie wordy play. I was doing a John Ford. Am I allowed to say the word?
You can totally swear.
'Tis pity she's a whore.
Okay.
I was one of the whores.
Can I just say I'm disappointed with the word? I thought there was going to be a real juicy swear word. So at some point I kind of might need you to actually swear.
Everyone expects
appease this
a
disappointment.
Scottish person. I know. They just go, oh, here she goes. If I'd been drinking now, then most of it would have been. I've surprised myself because I've always done quite modern work and new writing, things like that. So I'm loving this getting a corset on and being all, thoueth, deeth, goeth.
Yeah.
Good morrow, madam.
Did you play the whore?
Well, there was more than one whore.
Were you whoring in this play?
I was, God bless me, the mature whore. We will leave it at that, Natalie.
Okay.
There was a young whore and a mature, like a madam.
Okay.
So I was... my character's name actually was Patana, which means whore in Italian. I think I'm going to get told off now. You're going to get letters if I'm wrong, but I think.
Well, I know I've heard derivatives of that word meaning that.
Yeah. We'll leave it there.
So now you're in a corset. How long does it take you to get all costumed up for Hamlet?
Well, actually, I'm not in a corset. I'm lying for this play. I was in the other. The costumes for this are fantastic. It's sort of set in Hamlet land, so it's not any specific time.
Okay.
Benedict wears a David Bowie T-shirt in one scene, and then is wearing a 1900 military uniform. It's very. Yes, it's not older world. It's not set in a specific time. So that's what's some people. That's a great surprise. So people kind of see, 1 minute you've got all the players and the actors turning up in 1970s outfits.
Wow.
And then I'm wearing quite a 1960s sort of outfit. Yeah, it's great. It's sort of timeless.
If you can't say because it's a spoiler, that's fine. But when I was looking up about Hamlet, there was somebody, and it was a movement director. And I thought, do you have any kind of choreography, like dancing and stuff in this? Oh, I'm on to something. I'm on to something. Okay, you don't have to answer. The fact that I saw a awkward glint in your eye.
There has been choreography because obviously there's sword fighting.
Okay.
There might be a little dancing in it.
CSI Hamlet, I'm all over this. Okay.
Hamlet the musical? No, there's no tap dancing, but there might be some movement, which I have to say is not my forte. No, can't do that. I was put in the rubbish people class. Or the last week of the rehearsal, there was me and 3 other guys that were so bad we had to have extra training. So that made me feel really humiliated.
The special movement class.
The special, it was that. The remedial dance class.
Funny. That's funny.
So, but I've got it now. I think I've got it now.
So what's your process when you learn these lines? Because everybody's different. Do you just say them over and over? How do you go
That's
about?
how I do it,
Okay.
Yeah, by rehearsing it and saying it is how I learn. Some people write them down. Some people record them and just listen to them over and over. In fact, did you not say you do that? How do you learn your lines?
Funnily enough, I've tried all different techniques. And I find for me, I look at the sentence and then I turn away and say it again. And then I'll do the next. So then there's two. So I'll try and remember two sentences and look away and do it.
You're constantly
like
just
that.
memorizing
yeah,
it. Okay.
And a page at a time kind of thing.
Yeah, so some people, but I think just by doing it, it makes me, I need to relate it to what I'm doing. If I just sit there looking at that, it doesn't seem to go in.
So what do you mean? You have an activity that you're doing in the play? Or?
Yeah, so when we're rehearsing it, and I know what's happening in the scene and where I go and that I relate it to all of that.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that makes sense. Have you got a lot of activities you're doing in the play?
Honestly, you're rubbish. You just have to come and see it.
Okay, I'll come and see it.
When you say activity, I have physical activity.
Okay.
There happens to be...
Are you whoring it up again?
No, I'm not whoring it up. Well, not on purpose. They have a massive staircase. That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
They have a massive big staircase, and I just seem to be running up and down that bastard staircase all night.
Wow. Well, that's good exercise for you.
It is very good exercise, but it's killing my knees. And yes, so that's my seems that I'm running up and down to people all the time.
Well, this is we've got spoilers bursting out all over the place. Staircase.
You've been very good. I was scared I was going to give something away, but I think I've been all right.
Oh
really.
yeah, no. Well, I don't want you to get into trouble either with Lindsay and Benedict.
No. I mean, I think so much has been written about it now. If this had been before we opened, then I probably wouldn't have been able to even tell you what the show was called. But but there's been so much written that, you know.
Yeah, well, I saw a photo online of you all rehearsing, which again, I felt a pang of envy to just be a part of that group thing, because I love that kind of group thing where you get to bond with people. And you all look like you were doing like a movement. And that's why I thought, I wonder if there's dancing in there. But
is that what made you think?
Well, and the fact that I saw movement director really intrigued me, because I thought, is that
where did you see that
on
then?
IMDb?
Okay.
So I thought, is that a normal thing you would have in a play, a movement director? It sounded very kind of, I mean, my imagination was going wild.
We all do yoga in the middle of it. Yeah, in the interval. Yeah, so there's a little bit. It's. I see more and more kind of movement being incorporated into plays at the moment. It's funny that you kind of go through. I see, popularities of things. There'll be screens and kind of projection used, and then music. There's some beautiful music in this as well. John Hopkins is composed. So yeah.
And do you have an orchestra right there playing music?
No.
It's recorded.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Barbican stage, but it's beautiful and it's massive.
I have not, and I so hope I get to.
It's so huge. I was quite scared, actually.
Well, I've never been here before, and I arrived today, and I didn't know how long it was going to take, so I always get to places ridiculously early.
No, but I love you for that. I wish there were more people like you. I'm like that.
Well, I got here at like 2:30.
Oh, bless
you.
So
then, and I was supposed to meet you at 4:00, but I was really happy to find it, so I like to case the joint. So I was like, okay, she says meet her at the stage door. I'll do the perimeter. I'm like a cat. Let's find this stage door.
So you've already been around.
I've already been around the outside of the building, but I walked the wrong way. So I ended up at like this waterway facing the Barbican, like across a waterway.
The water
fountains.
Like
what looks like a canal.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I've gone the wrong way here. But luckily, because I had an hour and a half, it was no big deal.
To find your way 200 yards around the corner. Yeah.
Right. On a building and a subway station called Barbican. I
like your dedication.
So then I walked the correct way, and it starts to get really exciting. And I have another massive pang of envy because I pass. It's next to the Guildhall School of Drama. And every time I see a drama school, I'm like, I'm living the wrong life.
You have to move on, Natalie. You have to move on.
I know, I do.
Do you know, and what I love is that, there are so many people now that don't train. And I hate that snobbery. I don't think it exists so much anymore because there's a lot of people that don't train and haven't trained. The best training, and I know it sounds really cliche, but it's true, is just doing it. And you know that. And you should never feel, what's the word?
Underqualified.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because you didn't go to drama school. Because you've gone and done it anyway.
I do, though, sometimes. There is a thing with me that I feel like if I was working with somebody who'd done the 3-year program at Drama Center or at Yale, you know, in America, I would feel like, oh, I'm probably going to embarrass myself and do it wrong because they'll have learned all this stuff that I didn't learn, you know.
But we all have that. I trained and I didn't go to, you know, I did a year at RADA course, but I didn't do any of the other big drama schools. I was at a theatre school. So I came out going, I can tap dance and sing, but I had not had any really Shakespeare training.
But a year at RADA is pretty damn impressive.
Well, but I went and did that later on. Did you never think about going as you were older, maybe going to do some training?
I've done a slew of training as an adult. Like I constantly train to try and make up for the fact that I didn't go to drama school. I'm always in classes. Mm-hmm. So I'll do anywhere I can get classes. I studied at Actors Centre in London and everything going. When I was just back in America, I studied with Larry Moss, who's a very high-end coach. He's like a personal coach to Leonardo DiCaprio. And it was actually hard to even get in his class. And I'm always in classes, but I know it's to fill this void of feeling that I didn't get training that I was supposed to get when I was young, you know. Oh,
well, I think that you have to let go of that. I think you have to let go.
Oh,
you do.
You're going to be all wise on me.
I am.
I liked you better when you were a whore.
I'm going to go all Oprah Winfrey. Yeah, because that's in you, Natalie, and that, you know, you need... you can say goodbye to that because you've done so much work now. You don't need to. The best in any job, actually doing the job, I've learned just from watching some of the actors. Kieran Hines is in this. He's a fantastic actor. And I just watch him and I've learned from watching him. So, yeah, you don't need to feel like that.
Like these brilliant people, are they always brilliant or do they have off days? Not naming names.
I can't answer that, can I?
But I mean, where you get to feel less intimidated. I mean, how does Benedict make himself seem human to everyone else so that people aren't super intimidated by him?
Because he's a real person. So, you know, after 5 minutes of talking to him, you go, oh, it's Benedict. And yes, you can stand back and look at his life and admire him for what he's done. But he's just a nice man, you know. I'm trying to think who my heroes. I love Robert Downey Jr.
Okay.
Don't get me started. I love him. Edward Norton. Okay. I like the Scottish actors, David O'Hara. There's lots of people that I would probably be intimidated meeting for the first 5 minutes. And I hate to say that, you know, I hate to go, oh, well, I might be a little bit starry.
Right.
But then, you know, if I was working with him, then you just get down to it and be professional.
So Benedict wasn't one of those people that you had.
But I admired Benedict's work. Of course I did. But I'd actually met Benedict about 12 years ago because he did a play with a friend of mine before he was famous. And, you know, he hasn't changed at all. But we all have our little you know, idols.
Of course.
Just like when you're a kid. And you must... Who do you admire? Who's... Well,
I hope she doesn't listen to this because I've met her. You know, I've met her 3 times since, and the first time was such an embarrassment. She forgot. So I've met her twice. Space 1999, I wasn't kidding.
Oh my God, you really... Okay.
Barbara Bain. That's why I wanted to be a doctor. She played a doctor in Space 1999. I was obsessed with that show.
I'm going to have to Google her. That's terrible.
So
I don't know.
She teaches acting now in Los Angeles. Well, a few years ago, I did stand-up comedy at a place called Masca's Cabaret. I really hope she never listens to this episode because she is supposed to be on this show. So she was leaving with her takeout food. Now, I used to interview celebrities when I was on a kids show in Canada, like people like Will Smith and Aerosmith and LaToya Jackson, proper celebrities.
Anybody with a Smith at the end.
If you were Smith, you were in. But I never, ever, ever, ever got starstruck. Like, it was so professional. But this one actress, because I was such a fan of this show, and I really did want to be on then a sci-fi show. It's absolutely my dream role is to be on a sci-fi show.
Wow,
I've written one.
Have you?
To be on it, a comedy sci-fi. I've written it. So anyway, I'm at, this is about 1999. Oh, wow, 1999.
Look what you did there, Natalie.
See what I did?
Look what you did there.
I had to live years of my life to be able to say that. So it literally was 1999. And I was doing this stand-up show. And it was a cabaret. So they served food. And this lady comes in and gets her polystyrene carton of food for takeout. And I recognize her. And it's Barbara Bain, who played Helena on Space 1990. And I literally, this is the worst thing to ever say to an actress. And I learned my lesson severely. I said, I grew up as a little girl watching you. I loved you in that show. Well, instinctively,
I was a mere baby when I watched you.
Yes, I was so young. And she reached her hand out as an instinct to shake my hand. And I couldn't let go of her hand. And I had this paralysis. And it was really weird because I'd done all these professional interviews. But with her, it had such significance. My mum used to joke. She would say, you would swap me for Helena. And I might have done.
And did she call 911?
Well, she just froze and looked at me we were in a public place, so I think she knew she was safe. And
I'm going to have to, I haven't got my phone on me, I'm going to have to Google her.
Well, I couldn't let go of her hand for like an awkward length of time, and I started to cry. And I couldn't speak. I was like, because it meant so much, because it was really a true childhood idol. Anyway, so years go by. Finally, I let go of her hand. It was 2000. I let go of her hand. And I bump into her again.
And the restraining order had been...
It had worn off. And I meet her at an art gallery. Well, I knew I had blown it awfully the first time. What was saying, I was a little girl, grew up watching you, which is just never, ever say that to an actress, as I've now
The second
learned.
thing you never say to an actress either is going, I love your work. No. And no, I love your work, but getting the wrong name.
Oh,
I've done that, so I'll tell you about that after.
Well, years go by, I bump into her. Well, this time I had to act like I'd never met her before. So I was introduced. Oh, I was so stealth and cool. She was laughing away and chatting with me. We were with Carl Reiner, the legendary Carl Reiner.
Oh, yeah.
She had been his drive to the gallery and had given him a lift. So I was chit-chatting with the both of them. You would have never known. Like, it had all worn off. And then recently I went to see a show at the Groundlings in Los Angeles, these people are gods of comedy at the Groundlings, like seriously.
Whereabouts in LA?
It's on Melrose, and I did the workshop there, and I just love it to bits. And I see Barbara Bain. Again, this is my third time, and she's in the audience kind of area waiting to go in. By total fluke, the audience funnels, and I did not think we would be sitting together. The only seats left were right next to her. So I had to sit next to Barbara Bain.
Goodness.
So that's how come I got to ask her to be on the podcast. And she said she might be on it if she doesn't listen to this episode.
If she goes, that was her.
I know.
That was her.
When I had my Chinese food in my polystyrene thing.
And did she remember?
No,
that it was
that's
you?
the excellent thing, you see. If you've made a blunder with a celebrity, here's the fantastic thing. You have a second or even a third chance because they meet so many people. If you don't say, oh, I already met you.
Yeah, you don't know. It's lovely to meet you.
Yeah, so I have a total clean slate with Barbara Bain right now.
Oh, that's...
So what about you and your...
Oh, no, I just a couple of times have got the person wrong. So, I've recognized the actor and gone up to them and said, I just think you're brilliant in Cracker. And they go, that's not me. Oops. Or I really like your work and oh, it's lovely to meet you, Janice. No, my name's, I get that wrong sometimes, which is very embarrassing. I think it's good to have people that you admire. I mean, they always say, I'm sometimes scared to meet my heroines or heroes because you don't want them to let you down. I mean, obviously this Barbara Bain, and I feel awful, I'm going to look her up. It was Helena, really, that was your hero, not Barbara
that's
Bain.
right. It was the character. Yeah. That's why I wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah. And that's...
in the future.
And, well, you should have... But you could play a doctor very easily.
I think so, too.
But I watched them... I did Casualty for quite a few years. you don't want to start learning those words. Oh my God. Medicine and the terminology. Yeah, luckily I didn't have, but all the people that sort of played nurses and doctors, those long medical terms are very difficult to learn.
I'm here to learn those long medical terms. Can I just put it out there? Give me your prescriptions and I will memorize them.
You're hilarious. I think when you meet somebody, has there ever been anybody that you've met that has disappointed you in real life that you will actually admit to?
Oh, let's have a
That's
think.
quite difficult, isn't it?
Nobody actually comes to mind, but I bet you there have been.
Yeah. I think the only person left, I really wanted to meet John Lennon, and obviously that will not happen. Paul McCartney's somebody that I'd still like to meet. Look, we've got a complete plan. I'm trying to think about other people. There must be lots of heroes that I've wanted to meet.
Paul McCartney's probably going to come see this show.
Oh, don't.
I mean, I think everybody's going to come. Anybody who's anybody.
Well, I
is
know
gonna
I
come.
hear afterwards, they go, oh, so-and-so was in tonight. And you go, oh, my God.
Who's been so far?
Well, it was lovely. I went to out for dinner a couple of weeks ago and got a little tap on the shoulder from Stephen Fry.
Oh, wow.
With his lovely husband, Elliot, saying, well done. And and he was saying, he was sitting beside Jimmy Carr. And
wow.
So lots of people, I think lots of people have come, but
That's
you just
awesome.
you don't get to know. And
yeah, that's awesome.
I haven't really met.
What do people recognize you from? Because you've done so much iconic British television. I mean, you were on Coronation Street. Do you get recognized for that?
No, because I only did a few episodes of that. I did more episodes of Emmerdale, but that, again, all these shows were a long time ago. I obviously don't think I've aged at all, but I look pretty different. So I haven't done, I think the last thing that I did that anybody would sort of remember was Ladies of Letters. I did a couple of series of that, but that again was 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
But I don't mind that. I really don't mind not getting recognised at all. And in this, I come out and I'm wearing a wig in the show. So it's great. I just walk past and nobody knows who I am at all. In fact, I look like Velma from Scooby-Doo in this show.
funny.
Do you know who I mean?
Oh, I absolutely do. Of course I do.
The wig with the glasses. I've got these like really old sort of glasses. And yeah, I pretty much look like Velma.
Well, that's good. I mean, I think it's how great. I just got to see a screening of the Amy Winehouse new documentary coming out called Amy. And it's so tragic. It's a brilliant documentary, but it broke my heart to watch it because that was part of what really destroyed her, was just losing her privacy and the invasion of the press around her home and her life. I mean, it's like a disease, the paparazzi on a star of that level. So I think to play roles how you're doing, characters where people don't associate them with you as yourself, is possibly an enormous blessing.
I think, and isn't it weird though, because all those years ago when I was young,
you kind of want it, right?
I really wanted that, self-publicity. And I would, because I felt that to raise your profile, and in a way still now you need to, but would be the only way that you can get work, and that you would become a face that people would know, therefore to get more work. And actually now I can't think of anything worse.
Right.
I think to not have any privacy at all, that's just not a real life and not a way to live.
I mean, I can't say how it works over here in this country, but in America, it is a show business. It's a machine. And I understand, I think, pretty well how it works. And it definitely involves publicity, and talent's expected to hire publicists. So I've had publicists in LA and they cost a lot of money. You can easily spend $2,500 a month, and that's a reasonable price. Big, the kind of publicists that Russell Brand would go to, their minimums would be like $5,000 a month. Some of them even take a 5% of the actor's fees when you get to very big star levels. And I understand how it works, because then you get a photograph in some fashion magazine. I remember seeing Whitney Cummings when she first broke on. Do you know who she is?
I don't.
She's an American stand-up who's done tremendously well, and she did something pretty unprecedented. She wrote and sold 2 shows to networks. And while she was virtually really brand new on the stand-up comedy scene, I remember seeing a picture of her. And I think it was Star magazine. And it was one of those who wore it best. And so on one side was like Angelina Jolie, and on the other side there's Whitney in the same dress. And I thought, wow, that's really soon to have a publicist, because she's just really breaking into the comedy scene. But boy, I mean, she is one of probably the fastest rising stars I've ever seen in comedy. So it worked. It paid off, because it gives that reaction. Oh, who's this person?
Yeah.
Who's positioned? Yeah. And the way they work, the publicists are smart. It's positioning. So positioned next to Angelina Jolie, even though you're only wearing a dress that's the same, the impact on the psyche is there's an equality there.
But it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because you invite this publicity in to kickstart your career, and then when you want to stop, they don't.
Right.
And you can't have it both ways. And I think watching Benedict's life and how he's just brilliant. Obviously he doesn't need a publicist because he's famous. He's famous for his films and things like that. And he will never really talk about his private life, and he'll keep it as private. It's absolutely two separate things. Don't get me started on Kerry Katona, and I can't even remember her name. It was Jordan, but what's her name now? Katie Price. I know there's a lot of people that admire them. It's my worst nightmare to live my life. I don't believe that they know who they are unless they're in the papers. And yes, some people might say she is a clever businesswoman because she's done books and perfumes and clothes but I think that those two girls, and they're young still, that if fame was taken away from, because there will be one day when people are just not interested in who they are anymore. And I don't think that they can live not being famous. That's all they've ever wanted to be. And you and I respect people who find fame through a talent. So whether you're a sportsman or a writer or a, politician or actor, but I see, you can hear my voice. I find that sort of vacuous behavior just, it's the world we live in today, and I find it really quite upsetting. I can't look at magazines like Hello Magazine and all these things. Well, they weren't around when I was at drama school. You didn't have OK and Hello, this whole kind of generation of
celebrity,
absolutely. So, but I think it's such a tragedy that they were saying in Britain, and I don't know what it was like in America, but 25 years ago that they made maybe 1 or 2 reality shows a year. And now, I don't know, but there's something like 6. I'm talking about because we have Sky, we have, so they make hundreds and hundreds. So it is, I suppose, a career that people choose to do for publicity.
I would not be surprised if people like Benedict still have publicists, more just to manage press requests.
Oh, yes, he does.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But that's more of a protection
right,
thing
exactly.
than a publicist. Yeah.
That's right, to shield them away.
Yeah.
From people like me who might go, Benedict, will you do my podcast?
And hold his hand and not ever let go.
Right. I'll just watch for him to be with polystyrene takeout, and that'll be the trigger. Well, I know... there's something important I wanted to touch on with you. I admire you for just layers and layers of reasons of dedication to acting, and you're so talented. And I've watched so much footage of you online, and you're brilliant with comedy.
That's really kind
Brilliant
of you.
with drama. You're proper actress. And you've come through an enormous health hurdle. Like an enormous hurdle. And right when I met you, the very first night I met you, it was disclosed to me. This was in 2012, I think, in about September 2012. That
was it 3 years ago now?
That's when I first came back here.
That's right, yeah.
And I met you in a pub, and people introduced, and somebody said you just got some really bad health news, and you had stage 4 cancer.
It is stage 4. I was diagnosed in 2011. I mean, I went to my doctor straight away, and was referred to the breast clinic, but they misdiagnosed me for nearly 6 months.
Oh dear.
I've just gone through a whole court case actually for negligence now, and so I was just sadly unlucky. By the time they did diagnose me, my lump was very big. It had spread to most of my lymph nodes. But at the time, they thought that I could be completely cured. I had a mastectomy, I had radiotherapy, I went through surgery. And then sadly, when I met you then, so a year after that, my cancer had come back. And it had come back very quickly, and I think that surprised everyone. The only positive thing was that it came back as a lump on my rib cage, on my stomach, and but it was superficial because it was on the skin. So they were able to cut it out. I had some more radiotherapy, and at that point it hadn't gone internally and it hadn't spread to organs. But I was told that because it had come back quickly, and that because it was in a different area, that it was more than likely that some cancer cells had escaped. I know, and you'll appreciate it, it's quite difficult to talk about, but I know that one day it will come back. I'm not in anywhere near terminal, but I think they feel I'm very much incurable. But nowadays, Natalie, they can, because actually I've had scans, there's nothing, they can't see anything in my body, but they know it's there.
Wow.
So month to month, I have scans every 6 months, and it's sort of living with a gun at the back of your head, knowing that at one day I'll have the scan and it'll have come back. But God willing, that could be in 5 years' time, 10 years' time. Realistically, I don't imagine it would be more than that. So there's been a lot of self-teaching. I mean, obviously, my husband and I were devastated at first. And I'm very proud that he's been my rock. And I went through the whole, roller coaster of, well, what's the point? And, I can't believe I'm so young. Why has this happened to me? The self-pity. I've now learned since that so many, many, many people younger than me have gone through breast cancer and not made it. So I decided that cancer wasn't going to define who I was, and that it wasn't going to take away my career, and that while I'm well, which I am, I'm going to do everything I can. I get up every day and I'm thankful to be here. And in a weird way, it's made me a better person, because I used to be so frightened of things, and I wouldn't do, when I was saying to you about doing a one-woman show and things like that. But in all seriousness, there were lots of things that I wouldn't do because I thought might fail, or I was scared. And I'm not scared of anything really anymore. When you've gone through that, and when you're going through that, nothing, when it's all down to sort of in relativity, nothing can frighten me. So I used to get really nervous for auditions. Don't get nervous anymore. I used to be terrified of flying.
Okay.
That suddenly went, because nothing can scare you like that.
Right. I mean, you faced death. You've done, as Joseph Campbell would say, the heroine has faced death. That's what happens in every classic story.
Yeah.
You've done it and lived through it.
So I look after myself, and doing something makes me feel that helps me, not just other people, but spreading awareness about it, and to younger women helps me feel that I'm doing something worthwhile.
Did you find yours just from a breast self-exam, and you found a little lump?
Yeah, and a rash, and people don't know that.
I did not know
See,
about the rash.
that's another thing. I mean, there's over 30 types of breast cancer. But people always say, yes, of course, a lump is something that you would look for, but there are other signs. And I had a sort of rash, and this is why I was, I think, misdiagnosed at first, because they thought it was just a rash. And as I said, and over the 6 months, my lump got bigger and bigger and bigger. I would say to any woman that finds any lump, you just get to that doctor straight away. And what I should have done, which may have helped me enormously, is that I didn't demand a biopsy. I had a mammogram and a radiography, but I should have, if they'd actually taken a biopsy, they would have known there and then.
So they saw a lump but just thought it was benign?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
And they just left a benign lump in there without doing a biopsy? No wonder you went to court. That sounds
and of course
appalling.
I trusted, you trust. And so I thought, well, they're telling me I'm all right, so I must be all right, because they wouldn't risk my life. Right. Sadly, you know, I mean, I know it's the doctors, they do, there's many, they do a wonderful job. But sadly, there are cases like this, and it's up to yourself and as an individual to make sure that I knew there was something wrong. I knew, and that's why I kept going back. I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't.
But what was the sense of knowing something was wrong? Was it the rash, or are you talking about an intuitive sense of something's wrong?
Well, the lump was getting bigger, and also over those months, I started to get shooting pains as well.
Okay.
I knew there was something wrong.
I've actually had, I think now, about 4 operations to remove lumps from my breast. From when I was really young, I got my first benign fibroid when I was 16 years old.
Wow, that is young.
And it was one of the first times ever, actually, I felt that I wanted to kill myself, because the doctor said to me, we'll take it out and you'll never get another one. The odds would be 1 in a million. And 1 year later, I had another one. So now I'm like 17, and I remember thinking I was cursed and having a terrible depression, which I didn't have then till much more later in my life, a depression, but it was the shock of this news. And what they had done is they'd left part of the first lump in, so it had grown itself. So then that was operation number 2. And then when I went to LA, I had to have another operation, and they missed the lump, but told me they got it. And I went back to the doctor, and I'm like, I can still feel the lump. And this doctor was like, what's wrong with you? We sent you to breast center. Now you come say lump is still there. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And but the lump was still there. So I had to go to another doctor to get it taken out. So now I'm at 4 operations. I used to say in my stand-up, I'm the only girl who comes to LA and gets stuff taken out of her boobs. Hello.
My goodness.
Hey, guys. Excitement at the Barbican. I suppose we should have put a note on the door, shouldn't we?
Yeah, there you go. There's live theatre for you.
So there you go. So I have, obviously somewhat of an awareness of this, but I'm ashamed to say I stopped doing the breast self-exams because I kept finding lumps. I just gave up. And
But that must be, I mean, but does that make you less worried now, though? Because would you go, oh, well, it's just a fibroid.
I would.
It isn't anything sinister.
Well, then I had the test. At one point, I had really fancy health insurance in America, where when you have fancy health insurance, because I had a really good job at the time, so I got really expensive health insurance, and that's the time to get lots of tests done.
Yeah.
And so I had the cancer test where they look at your genetics to see if you have a gene, and I didn't, which was kind of a big relief,
the BRCA
actually.
gene.
Yeah, that's it. And I went for an exam a couple of years ago, and the doctor said, are you doing breast exams? And I said, no, I gave up. And he gives me a fake little rubber boob, and he goes, well, feel this. I'm going to show you how you do it. And he makes me feel it. And it's got little fake lumps in, like marbles. And I just said, oh, well, that's what I feel like. And he's like, what? And so he did an exam, and I had 2 more lumps in my breast. But I wasn't panicked at all. I was like, I'm clearly just a lumpy person.
Well, people have lumpy breasts, and sometimes it can be difficult to differentiate. But that's why our charity Genesis are also one of, I think, 30 other national breast cancer charities are trying to lower the age of compulsive obligatory screening, because it started off at 50 years old would be where you have, you get screening, but it has to be younger than that. More and more women in their 30s and men now, sadly, are getting breast cancer. We don't know why. There's many, it can be, as you said, genetics, diet. There's many reasons, but we're trying to lower the screening age so that girls, because I have to be honest, I was 41 and I thought, really? I mean, now at this age, but there are many girls in their 20s now that when I was diagnosed, Sally Diniver, who people know as Sally Whittaker in Coronation Street, we were diagnosed and treated at the same time. So as I say, we're patrons of a charity called Genesis, and they're the only charity in Britain that solely focus on prevention and prediction of breast cancer. There are so many brilliant charities out there that focus on a cure, but, prevention and prediction of it would be great if actually people never got it again and we find reasons why and can prevent it. And they do amazing work, and we do a lot of charity work. So that's something that makes me feel, I suppose, in my situation, that I can help the next generation.
Well, absolutely. By us having this conversation is adding to awareness. You're contributing massively to the awareness of this.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Oh, it's getting exciting. The announcement's coming.
I know.
Are you going to be called?
I'm gonna
You're going to be called in a minute. But just you sharing your story. And also, it's twofold with you, because you're also a great inspiration to show people if they get a bad diagnosis, it doesn't have to be the end of the world. You've ridden through it. And
so many people, and that's what, medicine and through fundraising and through charities, and we all know we're always being asked for money for different things now, but actually 30 years ago, most women didn't survive. If you were given a breast cancer charity, live theatre, ladies and gentlemen, it was very unlikely that you survived. And now you can live with, incurable cancer because they're able to give me medication to stop it coming back for a long, long time. And that's, that is funding, that's research. Yeah, we should be very grateful in this country, and in Britain, for what we have with the NHS.
Well, on top of all, when you're bought time with an illness or with just something that's a health issue, I don't even want to call it an illness, it's a health issue that you just have to be mindful of. They're coming up with new experimental drugs and new things all the time. So
trials.
You feel like you've got a gun to your head, you said, but maybe let's put it way in the future. If it was 20 years in the future and you feel that gun in the back of your head, goodness knows what they'll have come up with by then.
Yeah, no, in 20 years, I think it will be a completely different story. I think women will probably not get breast cancer because we will know what has caused it. And you look now, who thought that 30 years ago, if you were given an HIV diagnosis, you weren't going to live for more than 6 months, And now it's wonderful because there are people that can live with HIV for the rest of their life. And I have friends that have had HIV for over 20 years. So, yeah, anything can happen. And I do live in hope that every year there are more drugs coming out and more trials, and maybe in my lifetime or maybe not. But the fact that I can contribute to helping, raise funds for that makes me feel very proud.
Well, I'm proud of you for everything you've done, and I'm proud of you for coming and sharing your story. Thank you very much on behalf of everybody listening. I'm certain out of the people listening, there will be a number of those, sadly, who are facing issues. Everybody knows somebody facing that issue.
Absolutely.
Everyone has a friend or a family member facing that issue. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
My gosh, I hope I get to see you perform.
Oh, I will make sure I sort that out. Now tell me before we go, Barbara Bain. Barbara Bain. Right, I'm off to Google her.
Great
Thank
ending.
you, Natalie.
Thank you, Morag. Morag Siller. GenesisUK.org is the website for the breast cancer awareness and prevention charity that Morag is a patron of. I will post a link at thegreyescape.com along with Morag's Twitter at Morag Siller. And don't forget to subscribeth to the show so that episodes await your presence on your device and you don't even have to do anything. That's it. Thank you, Morag Siller. Thank you guys for listening. And I so hope I get to see this show. I have to say, after the conversation that we just had with Morag on fame and health, when I read these words now, I feel more of a connection. These words here, right from Hamlet's soliloquy. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them. I'm in. Let's oppose our sea of troubles and end them. And get on with it, 'cause life is short. Take care, everybody, and I'll catch you next time on The Grey Escape.